Hello stamping friends, it's Liz Holloway at stampersclass.com and welcome to my How It's Made video tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create this beautiful ornament card by using various Framelits Edgelits dies, and I'm calling it Maximizing Your Dies. I'm using this beautiful Ornamental Pine set by Stampin Up, and the dies I'm using is the Retired Adorning Accent and the Large Scallop dies. Now, when I was creating this video, I decided to change the colors up, but the concept is the same. As you can see, the silver and the gold glimmer cardstock. So let's get started. I'm using my number 4 Circles Collections Framelits, and I've already cut the gold glimmer paper, the cherry cobbler, and the whisper white cardstocks. I'm bringing in my big shot and laying the gold glimmer and the cherry cobbler together. And you want to make sure that both of these pieces are stacked together. You don't want it moving. And if you are not sure, take a piece of washi tape and tape it down together. Next thing, I'm using all the dies that I have on hand, and if you don't have these dies, you can actually use various other dies that you have. And then here I am just taping the dies with the washi tape just to make sure that my dies don't overlap and ruining the die cutting part. I'm rolling the handle back and forth to ensure the second layer is cut through. I'm taking my pre-cut whisper white piece and then adding multi-purpose glue and just adding enough glue to secure my pieces together, starting with the cherry cobbler piece and then alternating with the gold glimmer cardstock. You want to ensure that the pieces are butt together to avoid white spaces between the layers. Now I'm taking my Good Greeting stamp set and I'm using the Merry Christmas, and because the Merry Christmas is too long for my bauble, I cut the Merry and the Christmas in half and only using the word Merry. Don't worry, this will not harm your stamp. If you want to use the whole Merry Christmas again, just butt the two pieces together. I'm going to use my Ornamental black ink and then stamping it onto the bauble, and then I wanted to make sure that my pieces don't come apart, so I took my crystal effect and applied liquid glue onto the bauble, spreading the liquid with the tip and then setting it aside to dry. While the bauble is drying, I'm working on my main image and took the pine and inking it with old olive directly onto the stamp. Next, taking my crumb cake marker and coloring the branch in. Here I'm using the soft suede and the Early Espresso Classic ink. I'm taking the pine with the soft suede ink and then coming in with the Early Espresso with the sponge dauber. Although the two colors are all almost the same tone, there's a slight change when you blend the Early Espresso with the finger dauber. It's not really noticeable on camera, but in real life you can see a change. I'm stamping the pine 3 times and meeting at the branch. Now I want to give my branch a bit more shading, so I'm coming in with my fine paintbrush and water and the Early Espresso ink and picking up small amount of ink and applying the fine brush tip. Next, I'm adding 3 rhinestones and coloring each of the stones with cherry cobbler blendabilities. And then I wanted to draw a string with my Sharpie pen. Now I am ready to add my bauble, but if you look at the bottom right, the bauble is not ready to be secured to the main card, so I decided to speed things up, and rather than waiting for the crystal effect to dry, I took another prepared number 4 whisper white cardstock again and applying glue, and repeating the same process I did before. Now here, this is what you don't want to do. I accidentally placed the cherry cobbler piece backward, and I didn't want to, and I couldn't figure out why my gold glimmer piece is not lying up, and I realized that I placed it on backwards. So I didn't want to redo the video again, so I flipped the cherry cobbler piece to the right side and leaving the glue in place, thinking that the glue would dry clear when I apply the crystal effect. And then I'm stamping the Mary with the Momentum ink at the bottom of the bauble and adding dimensions to the back of the bauble to give it some height and attaching the bauble to the focal point cardstock. This time I'm adding crystal effect to the bauble right onto the panel and then setting it aside to dry for about half hour before piecing it onto the main card. After letting the image dry for about half an hour, I came back to the card to finish it up, and I was astonished by this effect from the glue and the crystal effect, and it gave this kind of like a marbly look, and I was quite pleased to see how that came out. The crystal effect is not completely dry yet, but I went ahead and added glue to the back of the panel and then carefully laying it onto the main card. So this brings to the end of my tutorial. A list of supplies can be found at stampersplus.com, and I'll put a link to at the bottom of my YouTube. Press the like button to let YouTube know that you would like to see more of this type of tutorials. And if you are on my blog, please add a comment. This tells me that you are visiting and I have given you some inspirations. I'd love to hear from you and see what you have come up with.